One of the other activities I took part in that I decided not to forget has to do with the Flanzamaton saga. And every time I think about it, I say I will address it from the theme, the Flanzamaton saga, the untold story, the memes, insinuations, the lies, and the truths. April 1st, 1985 was on a Monday, if I remember well. Moravians and Yale Liberians awoke to yet another news of a coup attempt or an assassination attempt on the life of President Doe. And Moravia in particular went helter-skelter, as someone had shot at President Doe, and that President Doe had miraculously turned up on the 8th floor, and that he was chewing chocolate, and that sort of things. And of course, then the stories begin to emerge that 4 political activists or 4 politicians were involved, that they had given Flanzamaton $250,000 each, a total of $1 million, so that he would assassinate the president so that they would take state power. And everyone has, and the state had their version of the Flanzamaton saga. By God's grace, I participated in that investigation. I was taken to the Ministry of National Defense by the late Patrick Minicom, may his soul rest in peace, on the morning of April 1st, 1985. We had just been transferred from the National Force of the Eradication of Corruption. And I remember Patrick Minicom telling the late great D. Allison that he would not take part in the Flanzamaton saga, but I would be his direct proxy. And of course, Patrick Minicom did not take part in those hearings. But all other security institutions were there with their heads and other ornament. At that hearing, the followings came to light. By 1985-84, the PRC agreed or gave out a policy. It was not one of their mandates or not one of their decrees, that LPMC should supply rice to government employees. And anybody who was working in government at that time, 1985, 1984, if you did not get any of that rice, you were unfortunate. But every government entity made sure that its employees got the rice on credit. In some instances, the rice will be so much, those of us who want 1 bag, they will tell you, when we finish serving 10 bags and 5 bags, then we'll come to 2 and 1 bag. And so, Flanzamaton, or Moses McDonough Flanzamaton, as he was called, was a person responsible to receiving rice on behalf of the executive mansion staff. Flanzamaton received our regular supply of rice. The rice was given to executive mansion staff, just think on anybody who was working there, gardener, car washer, just anybody. You took how many bags you were able to pay for. And we pay for this rice. While we pay for this rice, the payments made to Flanzamaton did not reach LPMC. I will come to Flanzamaton confession. I'm quoting part of his confession. Instead, he and his boss, General Emmanuel Say, I'm sure. General Emmanuel Say was the commander of the executive mansion guard battalion. Flanzamaton was his deputy. So the two of them agreed they would take the rice money, and they took it and purchased a 30-seater bus. The bus was commercialized, and the proceeds went to them. Their idea was, after the bus got through paying for itself, they would buy a second bus, and this first bus would be turned over to Flanzamaton. Of course, there were other creditors at the LPMC, but I speak specifically of the executive mansion situation. While that was going on, LPMC filed a complaint with Doe, stating that it had debts of over billions of dollars outstanding, and people who've been taking rice for the last 5, 7, 8 months were not paying. And therefore, it wanted its debts collected. And Doe got upset and said, the same rice business, we had a war 2-3 years ago, and at the same rice business, they take the people rice they don't want to pay. Even if my man took rice from LPMC and has not paid, she will be sent to Liberia. So those of you who took rice from Liberia, from LPMC, you have better go and pay. And that statement was an instruction to the law enforcement institutions. And they began to round up debtors to LPMC. The first outstanding personality I remember who was arrested and flown to Liberia was a brother called Mayu Kamara. Mayu Kamara must have been senator of Bon County or something, but he was in rice business. He was a big rice dealer. The minute Mayu Kamara was flown, arrested and flown to Liberia, then everyone knew that Doe was serious about paying LPMC debt. So on the morning of April 1st, 1985, while Doe was entering the executive mansion about 3:30, 4 o'clock that morning, a military truck was normally mounted at the third gate from the Ministry of Information and at the second gate from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. In that military truck were mounted a 50 caliber machine gun and a 30 caliber machine gun under the direct supervision of Flanzamaton. And as Doe approached that gate, the security opened the gate. Flanzamaton opened up fire from the 50 caliber on a jeep. But because of the mechanism of that gun, if you ask the military expert, they will tell you only 3 rounds came out. The 30 caliber has the same mechanism. 3 rounds came out also, inflicted the tires, burst the windshield. The SS driver had jumped out of the car. The 2 bodyguards in the back of the car had fallen on Doe. One of them, I think, is Ross. He was on top. So Flanzamaton took his .45 caliber and fired directly onto the occupants and broke the spinal cord of Ross. And then he fled the scene, went through Bombing Hillside, decided to return, and took the Gunnersville Road, all that in 20-25 minutes, and then do call on the Motorola and said, Flanzamaton, about 20-25 minutes ago, a shooting took place at the executive mansion. And I'm sure nobody else did it but you. According to Flanzamaton, when he got our message, he was at a red light. And since that message had gone on all of the radio network, he decided he would go behind the Omega station. That's where he was. So I say this to say that even the assassination attempt on the life of the sitting president at the time grew out of economic crime. It grew out of the fact that these people received rice that we paid for, and instead of remitting the money to the vendor, they decided that they will use this money for their own agenda. So you see the effect economic crime had on our crisis, on our nation statehood. A little act of corruption may seem little, but it will affect a mass of people. And so, growing out of that saga, those of us who were here, we know what happened.